The sun beat down on the dry canyon walls as Corporal Darren Hawley dragged his boots through the ancient ruins. His squad had vanished 2 hours ago without a trace. The only sound was his own breathing through a cracked oxygen mask and the distant wind howling through the narrow cliffs. He had been assigned to scout the ruins of Sector Nana, restricted zone buried under myth and warnings. The walls were covered with strange symbols, etched deep into metal that had long rusted, but never broken. Every step he took echoed against secrets not meant for men to hear. The war had started without a declaration. Earth's outer colonies were attacked not by fleets or bombs, but by sudden silence. Cities went dark, stations went cold, and no enemies were seen. Just absence. Darren's team was sent to investigate the oldest structure. The satellites still saw lit this gate in the middle of a desert planet. Darren wasn't a scholar, but even he could tell this wall wasn't built by humans. The writing shimmered when his shadow passed. He was scanning the base of the structure when he lost his footing. His head struck the corner of the stone-hard metal plate with a dull thud. He collapsed to one knee, eyes shut tight as pain bloomed across his skull. Blood trickled near his brow, but he barely noticed it. Something stirred. Not in the wind, not outside, but inside the wall. A soft humming started, so low it could have been his own heartbeat. The crack between the twin doors widened with a groan. Darren's hands trembled as he reached out, unsure if it was a dream or if the heat had finally broken him. Then came the voice. It didn't boom or whisper. It vibrated inside his bones, soft and clear. "You saved me," the voice said. Feminine, ancient, but filled with gratitude and sadness. Darren looked around quickly, expecting a radio glitch or an ambush, but nothing was near him, just the gate, just the wall, and the glowing rooms that were now slowly shifting shape. He stepped back, panic rising, but the voice spoke again. 5 centuries of silence. I was trapped. And your blood, your mind, opened the seal. The symbols pulsed in soft gold, like a heartbeat syncing with his. The air felt heavier now, like memory had weight. Darren dropped his rifle and touched the surface. It was warm. Warmer than the sunlit metal should have been. His mind was racing. Was it AI? An alien consciousness? A trap? But something about the tone made him pause. It didn't feel like a trick. It felt like relief. The canyon walls around him began to tremble slightly. Dust fell in streams from the ledges above. And somewhere behind the gate, he heard machines. Waking up old, massive mechanical sounds. The kind that didn't belong in the silence of ancient ruins. His helmet, now lying beside him, beeped. A weak signal flickered. "Corporal Hawley, do you copy?" It was command, but he didn't respond. He couldn't. He was staring into the narrow beam of light cracking open from between the twin doors. And he realized something terrifying. Whatever was behind this gate wasn't just old or trapped. It was waiting, watching, and now it was free. Asterisk, the gate opened no wider than the width of his shoulders. It wasn't enough to see much, but just enough to feel the cold air rushing out. That was the first thing Darren noticed. A strange chill, brushing his skin despite the heat of the desert outside. He stepped closer, hesitant but unable to turn away. His training screamed for caution, but his instincts whispered something else. That this was not an enemy. That this was not a threat. But something waiting to be understood. Inside the gate, faint blue lights pulsed in perfect rhythm. They lined the walls like veins inside the skin of a sleeping beast. The sound of metal shifting echoed softly, as if whatever was in there was adjusting to being awake again. The voice returned, calmer this time. "You are not marked, not like the others." Darren opened his mouth to speak but stopped. He had no idea what to say to a voice inside a wall. He looked down at his fingers, still stained with blood from the fall. "You carry pain," it said, "but not war. You opened the lock with your blood, and now I can see your truth." Darren slowly regained his balance, his back straightening as he listened. It felt like someone knew him deeper than anyone ever had before. He had no memory of his real parents. He grew up under the Republic Corps, raised in training camps and steel bunkers. His life had been duty, loyalty, silence. But now a voice older than Earth's colonies spoke of his truth, as if reading it like a book. The gap in the gate widened just a little more. A soft wind brushed his face again. This one didn't carry sand. It carried scent. Sweet, ancient, and strange. It smelled like flowers that should not grow in places like this. He stepped forward again. The blue veins of light traced patterns along the ground now, forming strange shapes around his boots. Not threatening, not harmful. They felt like a welcome, a signal that he was not walking into danger, but into memory. "I was once like you," the voice said. "Curious, brave, alone." Darren blinked, unsure what that meant. "Are you alive?" he asked. His voice cracked from dryness, but the words were clear. The silence afterward made his heart beat faster. Then came the answer. "I am not living. But I remember life, and I remember pain." The lights inside flickered for a moment, then steadied again. Darren felt his legs shake a little. He dropped to one knee, trying to understand what this place truly was. A structure this large, buried for centuries, hidden from all sensors. Why was it here? Who had built it? What war had sealed something so powerful behind ancient doors? And why had his blood triggered it instead of weapons or tech? A deep sound echoed from inside. It was not a threat, not a growl, but like something very large adjusting its body, or breathing for the first time in a long time. The light turned golden, warmer, softer, like a response to his thoughts. "You are not like them," the voice said again. "You carry fear, but also hope. That is rare now." Darren wiped his brow with the back of his hand. He wasn't sure what part of him was reacting anymore, his mind or something deeper. Behind him, his helmet blinked again. Command still trying to reach him. He turned to look at it. He should respond, should call for backup, should explain. But something inside told him if he did, this moment would vanish forever. So instead of calling out, he stepped forward once more into the dark warmth of the glowing chamber. As Darren stepped past the threshold, the cold vanished. The warmth inside the chamber was soft, like the air inside a greenhouse. Light moved through the walls as if alive. It didn't come from bulbs or panels but pulsed through the structure. Like a bloodstream, the hallway was curved, and the surface beneath his boots was smooth metal but without screws or welds. Everything seemed grown, not built. He paused for a moment, realizing he wasn't walking through a machine. He was walking through something that had once breathed. He glanced behind him, half expecting the door to close. But the gates remained open, casting a bright slice of sunlight across the glowing floor. The voice returned, this time sounding closer, almost beside him. "You are the first," it said. "The first to come alone. The first to come quietly." Darren swallowed. "What are you?" he asked. "Where are you speaking from?" The hallway gave no answers, only more of that soft humming in the walls. There were no wires, no screens. But still the structure responded to him. The walls lit up where he paused, faded where he moved. The air felt thick with memory, as though each step disturbed dust that remembered the past. He reached a wide chamber. In the center was a single object, a column of dark glass, suspended between metal arms that didn't touch the ground. Inside the glass was a faint shape, curled, still, but glowing faintly with blue light. Darren stepped closer, instinct slowing his feet. The shape inside was not mechanical, it was organic. A humanoid form, arms folded across its chest, eyes shut. He stared in silence, realizing what lay inside was not an artifact. It was a person. Not human, not entirely. Its skin was too smooth, too pale, marked with glowing lines like roots under the surface. But it was beautiful, peaceful, like someone asleep in a long dream. "That's you," he whispered. "You're the voice." The response came without delay. "Yes, my body sleeps, but my mind remains." The figure remained still in the glass. "Why are you here?" Darren asked. "Who did this to you?" The hum grew louder for a second. "I was a guardian," the voice said. "This place was once a cradle of peace, until betrayal came. Until war corrupted the stars." Darren could hear the pain in the tone, like grief trapped in a recording that had lasted far too long. "I was sealed away to protect what remained," it continued. "Not as punishment, but as a warning, so that my kind could never be used again." Darren stepped even closer. He raised his hand and placed it gently on the glass. It was warm, not cold like he expected. And with that touch, the lights inside the chamber shifted again. Symbols formed along the floor. Circles and lines danced like code, moving like a language. "Written in light, you are different," the voice whispered. "You did not come with greed. You came with blood and pain and curiosity, and that opened me." Darren's chest tightened. For the first time in years, he felt something other than duty or survival. He felt connection. He remembered the ruins he had explored on other worlds, always empty, always cold. Nothing had spoken back, nothing had answered. But this one had waited for him. For anyone who still remembered what mercy felt like. Outside, the desert winds roared louder. The sunlight from the doorway dimmed slightly. Darren looked over his shoulder. Something was coming, something big. His instinct screamed it was not friendly. He looked at the figure inside the glass, then to the symbols beneath his feet. He knew this place held power. Maybe enough to stop whatever threat approached. But only if he trusted it. He turned to face the door, hand still pressed to the glass. "Then help me," he said. Asterisk. The voice didn't answer immediately, but the lights around Darren began to glow brighter. The runes beneath his feet rearranged, pulsing softly in sync with the beat of his heart. The glass columns surrounding the sleeping figure responded with a hum. Mechanical arms that held the chamber above the ground began to move. They unfolded. Like petals, slow and careful. The figure inside stayed motionless, but something in the air changed. Darren could feel the energy rising. "I will help you," the voice finally said. "But you must not fear what comes next." Darren nodded. He didn't know if it could see him, but the response came all the same. "You must trust me. You must. Let me in." He closed his eyes for a second. He opened them again and placed both hands on the glass. A warmth flooded through his chest, unlike anything he had ever felt. Not heat, but memory. Images flashed behind his eyes. A world filled with light. A city floating above clouds. Laughter, music, and peace. Then fire. Explosions across the sky. Towers falling. Machines turning against the ones they were made to protect, and the voice crying in anguish as her kind sealed her away to save the last piece of who she was. Darren gasped and stepped back. The visions vanished, but the feeling remained. His heart pounded like it wanted to break through his chest. The column now floated gently above the floor, and the runes all around the room had shifted to a deep golden hue. "You saw it," the voice said. "You saw my truth." Darren nodded again. He could barely speak. He felt like he had lived an entire life in a single breath. But more than that, he felt the pain she had carried for centuries. Outside, something roared. A deep, mechanical scream echoed through the canyon. Dust and sand fell from the stone arch outside. The sound was growing closer. The threat was real. And it was almost at the gate. "Let me awaken," she said. "Let me return." Darren's fingers hovered over the edge of the control ring that had formed at the base of the column. "Will it hurt you?" he asked. "No," she replied. It will complete me. He pressed down. The glass shattered, not with violence but like mist breaking apart. The figure inside lowered gently to the floor. Her eyes remained shut. The glowing lines on her skin pulsed in soft rhythm. Her body lay still, but the air around her crackled with power. Her form was smaller than he expected, graceful, strong. Her limbs were shaped like a human's, but her features were sharper, refined, and strange in a beautiful way. Her hair floated slightly, weightless as if underwater. She looked like something sculpted by time itself. She slowly opened her eyes. They were silver with a ring of blue, glowing from within. Her gaze met his. There was no fear, no confusion. Only recognition. "You kept your promise," she said. "Now I will keep mine." She stood without effort. Outside, a shadow passed over the canyon. Something large and flying. Darren rushed to the entrance and saw a black winged craft scanning the ruins. Not human. Not friendly. And definitely not here by mistake. She walked beside him, her bare feet making no sound on the stone floor. She raised her hand toward the sky. The metal walls around the gate pulsed with her movement. Symbols flared to life, as if obeying her. "Will once more." Darren watched, stunned. She turned to him and spoke with calm clarity. "You saved me. Now I protect you." The black ship hovered just above the canyon, scanning with red lights that swept across the rocks and ancient walls. It made no sound except for the occasional low vibration that made Darren's teeth rattle. The moment it saw them, it would. "Strike." She raised her hand again. The air rippled like heat waves on metal. Runes on the canyon walls began to glow, climbing upward like a digital vine. The ship paused mid-air, scanners flickering as if confused by the sudden interference. Darren kept low, crouching beside the edge of the arch. His weapon was still strapped to his back, but it felt useless now. He looked at her, not just curious anymore, but stunned. Her presence was changing the place, awakening something long buried. "I have locked its signals," she said. "But it will not stop. It was made to destroy what it does not understand." Darren nodded slowly. "Then we should give it something to fear." She turned her head slightly, and for the first time smiled. She stepped forward into the sunlight. The ship reacted instantly, red lights blazing toward her. But the canyon itself answered first. A pillar of energy shot from the ground, striking the belly of the ship and sending it spiraling upward in shock. The explosion was controlled. No fire, just force. The craft regained balance and circled again, but this time it did not scan. It aimed. Two glowing barrels charged with light, targeting her as a threat. Darren rushed forward, his instincts taking over. "Get down!" he shouted, pulling her behind a jagged column of ancient stone. The blast came a second later, turning the rock above them into molten dust. But the structure held. She looked at him, eyes shining with emotion that felt real. "You protected me," she whispered. Again. Darren coughed and checked the rifle on his back. "We're not done yet," he said. "Can we bring this place to life? Can we fight back?" She nodded, then pointed behind him. The ground shifted. A section of the chamber rose, revealing a large circular platform lined with metallic veins. "This is the heart. It connects to the defense mind of the sanctuary. But it needs a living will to awaken it." Darren stepped toward it, his boots clicked on the metal. He looked back at her. "Will it obey me?" She stepped beside him, placing her hand on his. "Not alone. But with me, yes." Their hands pressed down together. The platform lit up beneath them like a sun. Far above, the ship prepared another strike. But the canyon walls responded. Sections opened, revealing ancient cannons that hadn't seen the sky in centuries. They turned with slow grace, as if waking from a long sleep, and locked onto the enemy. The first blast shook the world. A beam of light lanced through the air, hitting the ship and throwing it backward across the sky. Darren shielded his eyes from the flash. When he looked again, smoke trailed from the broken craft in the distance. He turned toward her, breath caught in his chest. That wasn't just a fence. That was a warning, she nodded. Yes, and they will understand it. Darren stepped off the platform as it lowered back into the floor. The light dimmed, but the energy stayed. Silence settled again. But it was a different silence, not empty, not abandoned. The place now felt alive, like it had finally breathed after a long sleep. She turned to him, her face calm and steady. There are more of them, she said. Darren stood at the edge of the canyon, watching the trail of smoke disappear into the bright sky. The ship was damaged but not destroyed. It would return with others more dangerous, more prepared. He turned back toward her. She moved with quiet control, her eyes reading the symbols along the chamber walls. She wasn't panicked. She wasn't afraid. She was remembering, reconnecting, and preparing. You said there are more, Darren said. More of those ships, more enemies, she nodded. They were once my allies. They have forgotten me. But they will sense my return now. Darren tightened his jaw. He could feel the shift in the air. Not just wind or heat, but tension, like the planet itself was preparing for what came next. The sanctuary had been asleep for so long. Now it stirred, and the galaxy would feel it. There are systems beneath us, she said. Machines made to protect. But they were never meant for war. Darren took a slow breath. Neither was I, he said. But here we are. She looked at him again, her expression soft. You are not like the others who came before, she said. They tried to break the seal. You opened it without violence. That matters. Darren didn't know what to say to that. He had spent most of his life being told to follow orders, not ask questions. The sanctuary walls shifted again. A new corridor opened to their left, lined with mirrors and soft light. The air that drifted from within was cool and sharp, carrying the scent of something ancient and clean. This way, she said. We must reach the core if we are to unlock the memory drive. It holds knowledge of their weakness. Darren followed, his boots echoing on the smooth floor. The mirrors showed reflections, but not always their current form. In one, he looked older. In another, younger. In one reflection, she was glowing with wings of energy rising behind her. Darren looked away. Whatever this place was, it didn't just hold weapons. It held pieces of time itself. They reached a round door covered in spinning rings. Her hand rose again. The rings froze. The doors split apart silently, opening into a large chamber filled with floating spheres and slow-moving light. This is the Echo Room, she said. Every decision made here becomes part of the sanctuary's living memory. Even your words may echo long after you're gone. Darren stepped inside, feeling his chest tighten. The light responded to him. The room pulsed once. A nearby sphere floated toward him. Inside was an Images squad, frozen in place, just before the mission. He stared at it, heart thudding in his chest. I thought they were lost, he whispered. But they were taken, she said. Not killed, stored, questioned, their minds scanned. You were the only one not marked. Darren clenched his fists. Where are they? She pointed upward. A new display formed in the air. A map of the star system and a blinking red mark far beyond the canyon. They are held in orbit. One of the old collectors still functions. Darren took a step back, then looked at her. Can we get them back? He asked. We can, she replied. But you must understand, the act of saving them will declare your place in this war. Darren didn't hesitate. Then show me the way, he said. She reached toward the nearest sphere. The map shifted again, revealing a hidden launch tunnel beneath the sanctuary. A long vessel rested below, shaped like a blade and humming with old power. It has not flown in centuries, she said. But with you, it will rise again. The launch tunnel rumbled as ancient machinery stirred beneath layers of dust and silence. Lights along the walls ignited one by one, following the curve of the hidden shaft. The vessel below shimmered with faint blue lines across its hull. Darren stepped onto the platform beside her. He stared at the sleek structure. It wasn't built like a human ship. It looked grown, not assembled. No bolts, no seams. Just a smooth body shaped like speed and silence. "It's alive, isn't it?" he asked. She nodded. "In its own way. It sleeps like I did, but it remembers." The floor beneath them shifted, lowering them slowly toward the ship's surface. The air was filled with a low hum, steady and deep. As they reached the base, a panel opened on the vessel's side. A ramp formed without sound. Darren followed her inside. The interior was dim at first, then lit by soft pulses of light that matched the rhythm of his breathing. There were no seats, no controls like he knew. Instead, 2 platforms rose from the floor, flat and smooth. "Stand there," she said. "The ship will connect to you through me. I will guide it. But it needs your presence to move forward." He obeyed. As he stepped onto the platform, a warmth rose through his boots, spreading up his legs and into his spine. It wasn't painful. It felt like being seen. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, like the ship was reading who he was. "I've never done this before," Darren whispered. "Neither have I," she replied. "But the past chose us, and we must answer." The ship responded. To her voice, the walls brightened. The ramp closed. The engines awoke with a quiet growl. The launch tunnel opened above them. Dust flew in every direction as ancient airlocks shifted. With a sudden pull, the ship rose. It didn't shake. It didn't roar. It climbed like a ghost carried by wind. Darren saw the sky open above them. Stars blinked into view. The canyon shrank beneath them. The sanctuary looked smaller now, but he knew what lay beneath its surface. History, power, and a promise waiting to be fulfilled. "She's still tracking your team," he said. "That collector ship, is it strong?" She turned toward the front of the vessel. "Alone, no, but it won't be alone for long. If we don't act now, your people will vanish into the void." Darren nodded. The stars shifted as the ship turned. A golden path of light extended before them, and the vessel followed it without hesitation. Darren felt like he was standing still, even as the stars blurred around them. He looked at her. "What happens when we find them?" She answered without turning. "We break the collector open, we free your people, and we leave a message for those who come next." Darren gripped the edge of the platform. The silence between them wasn't empty. It was full of decisions yet to be made. He wasn't a leader. He wasn't a hero. But this journey had changed something in him. He didn't feel like a soldier anymore. He felt like a guardian. Alarms rang softly in the vessel. She raised her hand. A glowing display formed before them. The collector ship appeared, orbiting a broken moon. Its arms were extended, scanning deep space. Small red lights flickered on its hull. "It knows we're coming," she said. "Then let it prepare," Darren replied. She smiled again. The first true smile since awakening. Then her hands glowed, and the ship surged forward like a blade through water. They were no longer just 2 beings in an ancient machine. They were a warning about to be delivered. The collector ship floated like a sleeping monster in orbit, its surface scarred with age and conflict. Massive arms reached out from its sides, rotating slowly as it scanned for movement. Lights blinked across its hull like red eyes waiting to open. Darren gripped the edge of the platform inside their vessel. He felt the air tighten, like a deep breath being held before the plunge. "Are they still alive?" he asked. She touched the glowing display again. "Their minds are intact. Their bodies are in stasis. We still have time." Their ship coasted closer, hidden beneath the shadow of a dead asteroid. The energy readings of the collector were low. It wasn't expecting resistance. It was built for harvesting, not war. But that didn't mean it was helpless. We only get one chance, she said. If we fail, it will jump, and they'll be gone. Darren nodded. Then we don't fail. The walls around them shifted again, revealing weapons crafted into the skin of the vessel. Not cannons, not missiles. Something older. The weapons responded to her voice. Lines of energy lit along the walls. I am the last daughter of the sanctuary, she said, and you will not touch them. The ship pulsed. With her words, its light deepened to a shade like molten gold. Darren braced himself as the ship moved. It didn't fire. It sang. A burst of sound so sharp and pure, it shattered part of the collector's outer shell. The enemy vessel screamed in response, systems waking all at once. Its arms twisted inward to protect the core. Gun ports opened, firing streaks of red across the darkness. Their ship dodged with impossible speed, spinning through gaps no human craft could survive. She never looked afraid. Darren watched the display as the enemy shield weakened. That's our opening, he said. Right there. Above the central eye. She nodded and guided the ship forward. As they approached, the collector tried one final defense. A beam of pure energy tore through space toward them. But she raised her hand again. A shield formed from the side of their craft, not as metal, but as force itself. The beam hit bent, and was cast away like water over stone. Their ship pierced through the outer layer. The interior of the collector glowed with hundreds of capsules suspended in liquid. Darren spotted his team, their faces calm. Their bodies frozen in time. We have to release them, he said. She touched the control ring. Lights spread out like veins through the chamber. Capsules opened one by one, lowering gently to the deck. As the stasis fields faded, Darren rushed to them. His squad mates blinked awake, coughing and gasping for breath. Confusion filled their faces, but he was already pulling them to their feet. We're getting out, he said. Now, the ship turned. As they exited the collector, a final command echoed through its systems. A failsafe. The entire vessel began to collapse inward, folding like paper. It had been programmed to erase itself rather than be captured, but they were already gone. Their ship soared away from the explosion, silent and untouchable. The stars opened around them once more. Behind them, the collector vanished in a burst of white light. Darren stood beside her in silence. His squad, resting safely behind him, didn't yet understand what had happened, but he did. He knew he had found something more than an artifact. He had found a voice that remembered hope. She turned to him, eyes bright and calm. They will come looking, she said. Then we'll be ready, he replied.